Pablo Escobar may have caused his own death. He made a ridiculous mistake that cost him his life. Even though Pablo was known to think 2 steps ahead of the authorities, he miscalculated at some point. Pablo Escobar's first mistake was leaving politics after Colombia's justice minister planned to expose him. Escobar won a seat in the Colombia Congress in 1982. He was very popular among the locals. Members of the Colombian Congress had immunity, which was one reason Pablo joined politics. Joining politics meant he would be among those who made decisions for the country. Also, it will reduce the millions he spent on bribing the authorities. As a member of Congress, twisting laws to his advantage would be easier. His interest was focused on the Colombian extradition laws. Pablo campaigned vigorously to ensure that the extradition laws between the US and Colombia were abolished. However, this move was rejected, and it was the beginning of his downfall as a member of Congress. To make matters worse, Minister of Justice Rodrigo Lara Bonilla was unhappy with Pablo in Congress. He planned to expose his means of livelihood and tell the world all he knows. It's believed that Pablo's cartel assassinated the minister because he was prosecuting drug gangs. The second mistake. In 1991, Pablo agreed to turn himself in to the Colombian authorities if he was allowed to build his own prison. His self-built prison, La Catedral, has facilities such as a nightclub, waterfall, and a soccer field. Pablo tortured and killed 2 members of his cartel inside the La Catedral, and the Colombian authorities decided to move him to another facility. Escobar escaped from the self-built prison when he got the tip-off, and a manhunt for him started. The Colombian government, aided by the support of US officials, launched a massive manhunt. Even rival drug cartels were on his trail. The drug lord soon had nowhere to hide, but was left with just one bodyguard. His family was on the run too, and sought asylum in neighboring countries, but were not accepted. Initially, they fled to Germany to seek asylum, but were rejected. This news shocked Escobar because, according to him, Colombia treated the Germans respectfully when they needed the same help. Rival gangs wanted to wipe them out, and the Colombian government was not willing to protect them either. His family had no choice but to cooperate with the authorities. The third mistake. Pablo Escobar, though a brutal drug lord, valued his family. He was fond of his son, Juan Pablo Escobar, and daughter, Manuela Escobar. Pablo respected and cherished his wife despite his various escapades with other women. Pablo made sure none of them had children for him except his wife. Wendy Chavarriaga Weil was one of his cherished girlfriends, but getting pregnant led to her brutal murder. Wendy wanted to keep it and planned to flee to the US. But Pablo got wind of it. He ordered his men to capture her, she was induced, and an abortion was carried out without her consent. Wendy became angry, but instead of fleeing the country, she thought of a plan to kill Pablo. She became friendly with his hitman, John Jairo Velázquez Vázquez, popularly called Popeye. Wendy and Popeye started a relationship and fell in love, but she wanted to use it as a medium to know Pablo's movement. Pablo got wind of their relationship, but surprisingly approved it. He told Popeye he was suspicious of Wendy and asked him to keep a check on her constantly. One day, Popeye tapped her phone and discovered she was talking with the police. Pablo got wind of it, and he ordered her assassination. Popeye organized his men, and Wendy was killed. This clearly shows the kind of love he had for his wife. He made the final mistake that led to his death, as the Colombian authorities were closing up on him. On his 44th birthday, he called his son to hear from him. The authorities tapped the phone and were able to discover his location. Pablo's last bodyguard was killed, and while he tried to escape to the rooftop, he was shot, and the next thing, Viva Colombia, was heard on the radio, which means Colombia is free. His funeral. More than 25,000 people were present during the funeral of Pablo Escobar. Many people were seen crying during his funeral. Why would a man with a criminal history receive such empathy? Pablo won the support of the everyday Colombians by becoming a philanthropist. Some Colombians nicknamed him Robin Hood. Pablo Escobar has remained popular even after his death over 2 decades ago. He was a drug baron to some, but to others he was loving.